No, but one of those things that I wanted to talk about, especially with college football, and we're on the subject, is I'm a big Tennessee fan. Neil's the enemy. I have red in here kind of by default, but we don't like the red.
That's why it's a good-looking set.
We don't like all that. This is like a lighter red. We just don't mess with crimson, all right? But I'm a big Tennessee Vol fan, and I'll be the first to admit our program's got a big problem right now.
In terms of?
I think it's
from a Tennessee fan. I want to hear your
side. So okay, I'll just go right into it. So basically, the problem I feel like isn't with our players. I think we have really top tier talent in the SEC. I think we always have.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you slap another jersey on those guys and give them a different head coach and a different program and a different just feel of discipline in that program, that they are successful players. And you see that by the turnout in the NFL with our players.
Yeah. I mean,
they make good NFL players.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what I think is happening with the current Tennessee program, and it's almost sad because as a Tennessee fan from the day I was born, like my crib gets a Tennessee football. You know what I mean? Like Knoxville, you grow up bleeding orange.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever said or felt like I didn't want to watch a Tennessee game.
You feel that now?
And I feel like that right now. And the sad part is I feel so bad for the guys on the team. I feel not because that they chose to come to Tennessee. I think that's the best choice they could have made. And everybody's different. They had their own individual reasons, but I think the administration, I think that the athletic department itself has a big problem, especially with where all the money is going is to this football program. Tennessee has a ton of boosters. Fans are coming to these games that they're playing nobodies and they're selling them out. What happened last week? And you're starting to see it more and more now.
I didn't watch the game. I did see the score though.
Tennessee
but y'all
played
3-1.
We're 3-1.
But it feels terrible. It feels like a bad 3-1.
We're 2-1 right now. 1-1. Or are we 3-1?
3-1.
3-1.
0-1 SEC play.
That's correct. So we played some powder puffs. Georgia Tech was a good game, a game that I'm glad we did win, and also a game I thought we should have won. I think you've won the games we should have won.
You thought y'all should have won that game?
I think so. It was an unranked Georgia Tech team.
Oh no, they were good.
It's a tough matchup when you face a triple option.
No doubt.
It's
you
tough.
only get it one. You get it once.
And you saw it. They ran for like 600 yards. So it is what it is. It was a good game to win. I think we played. We played better than some of the decision making. Sometimes you outplay. Sometimes
I agree with that.
But the thing is, you shouldn't have to outplay your coaching. You know what I mean? I don't think that you should have to make up for mistakes from the top. And I think that's where a lot of the problems start. Butch Jones actually had a press conference today, and it was a lot to take in, because he for the first time I had seen him talk in more of an unscripted kind of real manner, where it wasn't just like, oh, he's spitting,
some sort of cliche
something
statement
off the paper, you know what I mean? And so that was the first time where I actually heard Butch Jones talk in a real way, and it kind of took me back, because you finally saw like, oh, this guy actually is, I like that guy.
Yeah.
But what I don't like is the inadequate coaching on the field. Like it's Florida game. We'll just bring it up. It still cut me deep. We'll talk about it. You're sitting in a nickel pack. It's just this, for people that don't know, go watch the Florida game. Ruined my life. Whatever. The last play of the game, Tennessee loses on a Hail Mary, a 63-yard Hail Mary. And I think they're sitting in a nickel package. They got Florida's lined up 4 wide or 5 wide, and of course they're throwing the bomb. Everybody knows they're throwing the bomb. We had 2 safeties back to cover 4 guys.
Yeah.
And,
it was a weird situation, though, because I was watching it, and McElwain, of all the coaching blunders, I was talking to my mom about it because she went to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And so I called her right after. But of all the coaching blunders, I thought Butch would have made this decision when, the clock was ticking down from 20 to 15 seconds, and he doesn't call a timeout.
None.
Because I think he thought that they got the first down so the clock would stop, and they could actually reset, maybe spike it, and then run a play or something. Because they didn't have any timeouts left. Well, they had 1, I guess, but he was trying to save it and whatever. But I think it threw Butch off. Looking at it from that perspective, I think he wasn't sure if they were going to let the clock run out and go to overtime. Like, there's 9 seconds left, and then they did call timeout. But at the same time, I guess you're right. Coming out of timeout,
I was going to say, here's the thing that I understand
you gotta.
But you call a timeout, and you come out of the timeout And you drop 2 safeties.
Everybody back.
And there's 9 people within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage.
Rush 2 people.
What are you doing? You know what I mean? It's one of those things, and it's not just this year. I'm not going to get on somebody for one game.
I think Tennessee wins that game too if they go into overtime.
I think you're completely right. Had the momentum going from the second half, completely swayed.
John
Could
Kelly
not stop John. And I really want to talk about John Kelly too. A freak.
Dude's so good.
I watched him even in the UMass game. He didn't really go off, but you saw the touches, and when he gets the ball, there's very few things he doesn't do well. Without the ball, he's a great blocker. He's not a first and second down back. He plays first, second, and third down and sits in there for pass pro.
Yeah.
Not only that, but a great receiver out of the backfield, even though a lot of people Tennessee's tendency on offense is very easy to figure out.
Dink and dunk.
Dink and dunk, throw the screen, like it's not hard to figure out. And still makes great plays, you know what I mean? And then when he runs the football, great field vision. Mm-hmm. Really strong. Like you're not bringing down arm tackles.
No.
You might not bring him down one-on-one and you pop him.
And the open field too, he's pretty shifty.
His yards after contact are ridiculous. It's a great running back. But besides Saquon Barkley and whoever Alabama has, because Alabama's just got a stable
3 or 4 deep.
You know what I mean? Like it is what it is.
Oh, no, he's definitely a top-tier back in the league.
Crazy.
In NCAA, easily.
But
shout out Brett Kendrick too, by the way. He's good offensive lineman.
Oh yeah.
A buddy.
I was gonna say that's your boy.
Yeah.
But this is the thing with me, man. After 5 years, Butch Jones, and I don't know I think it's 10 years the stat I saw, but Tennessee in the last however many years, 0-14 or 24 against top 10 teams.
That's not good.
It's not good. And when you got a program that has A-plus facilities.
Oh, phenomenal.
I mean, ridiculous recruiting edge.
Well, and the fan base, too.
The fan base is there. And this is what I was going to say about Saturday. I don't know if you saw this, but you look at that game with 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. This game is still a game. It's 17-13.
Yeah.
People are leaving the game. I've never seen people
disgust or just
disgust, booing, and some people took it as booing the players. Booing, not the players at all. The coaching staff, of course. But just getting up and leaving, and this is still a ball game. UMass has the ball in Tennessee territory twice in the fourth. And people are just sick of it, and they get up and they leave, for whatever reason, good or bad. That's a bad look on the program.
Oh, of course.
And after 5 years, the Butch Jones project, I think, is well, I mean, it's over. So I hate to say it, but that's my opinion. I think you got to move on.
Do you think he stays the season, or is he gone before? Do you think they let him finish? I think the next couple weeks are a big
huge. This Georgia game is huge for him. This is what I think. I think
they run into a buzzsaw again.
Oh, dude, it could get bad. I mean, even that Jake Fromm kid is a freshman at Georgia.
Yeah.
Is diming people up left and right.
Freak show.
And he's got a stable behind him.
Oh yeah.
You can't forget about Nick Chubb. As much as I want to rave about John Kelly, Nick Chubb is that guy too.
Sony
Michel's that guy. So. And Tennessee's not great on the run. They're not a great run defense.
Defense is really good too.
So it's going to get ugly. And if he does lose this game, I think the press conference he just gave today, you guys need to go watch it. It was especially the end of it. You can tell he cares about the program.
Yeah, of course.
He cares not only about the football program, but these kids as student athletes and graduating. A lot of the kids, which is a huge thing as a coach, but at the same time,
gotta win football games.
You gotta win football games. You can't be inadequate at the top, and you can't make excuses after every single loss or close game that you shouldn't be in close games. You know what I mean? And so, I think, and this is just my opinion. Don't roast me in the comments, Fall Nation, but I think that the Butch Jones project's over. I think that he's out at the end of the year, though. I don't think he gets, unless it's one of these 55 or 56-7 games against Georgia, they might pull the trigger.
What's the rest of the schedule look like? I didn't even look.
They got Georgia. You got the SEC East teams. You got South Carolina. You got Vandy might be a tough game. Jesus Christ.
Someone was saying that Vandy.
I mean, Alabama literally made them look like a high school program. But what are they going to do to Tennessee? What are they going to do to Tennessee? They might put 70 on Tennessee. And I'm a Tennessee fan, and I don't mean to disrespect the program, but it's just, what do you do?
South Carolina's no cake walk.
No. These teams, Kentucky held with Florida. Should have beat Florida.
Florida, as much as I want to say they're a decent team, they're struggling.
Offensively, they have no identity. No. Well, it's Tennessee. I swear, and I've never seen this, but Tennessee and Florida are almost mirror images of each other, except Florida has a better D-line. That's what I see.
Oh, yeah.
Had no identity on offense.
No. But that's the thing, and I think your statements and your comments are coming from a Vol fan that has been upset the past 5 years because you don't have an identity.
No. And how do you
y'all
not?
got great players.
Right.
How do you not somehow get them involved in a system that will benefit? Obviously, that's the goal, right? It's to benefit and to score and to win games, but you gotta either develop your players or figure it out, and you can't be given like you said, anything. It's over 5 years, and and it's not like Tennessee's been bad, if that makes sense. I mean, they should have won the SEC East last year. They should have maybe won it the year before,
right?
But it's just like gut wrenching, like rip your heart out, like should never have ever happened type stuff, because it was the way that the season was going, and being up in Tennessee, and I always joke around. You've heard me say that I've become more of an Alabama fan than I was, and we have some obnoxious fans, and just Tuscaloosa's Tuscaloosa, but I actually became more of one because all I had to hear was for 5 years, this is
Tennessee's year, baby.
This is our year. And talking about football, like from a guy that we watch games differently,
right?
And we also kind of assess talent differently than most people that just watch the game to watch it because they're fans. But they've had players, like we said earlier, they've had players for years, and like you said, you look in the NFL and you got guys getting drafted all the time. But why, when they were together, did it not work?
No.
And it's just tough. And I will say this, having heard it for 5 years, I felt like last year, I did want to say that last year was the best year y'all had. I felt like the best. I mean, y'all had everybody.
Everyone, and we had a first-round draft pick, a stud in Barnett.
Oh, yeah.
Flat-out stud. Reggie White is a Hall of Famer, legend. Broke his sack record at Tennessee.
Freak show.
Had a 5-0 start. Lose a heartbreaker at A&M. Turnovers, things that are careless.
But you look back at the schedule, too, though, like, would y'all play Ohio?
Yeah.
It was
close
game.
Game.
Ohio.
Close game.
App State, I believe, should have won the game.
Close game. I mean, how do you have these teams?
Out Taylor Lamb.
There it is. How do you have these teams that are so, and I don't want to say inferior because it's not that. College football, spoiler alert, college football players, they're good everywhere. Everybody in the gap is closing. For people that think that FCS teams aren't legit or small FBS teams aren't legit, go watch any game week 0 and week 1 of these top teams getting upset. Talent level's closing.
Well, the difference is the depth.
Absolutely, that's the only difference.
You look. It was funny because we were watching it with my buddy Marty, played with us when he was down for Labor Day, and we watched all the games. But every time on the ticker, it was like OVC teams, like Jack State was leading an FBS team, or some. You look at Liberty beat Baylor.
Yep.
The 3 or 4 upsets in the first week, you just look at it and you're like, how does that even happen? A, and then B, it's always a close game until kind of the second, third, fourth quarter.
And that's where you're talking about.
Missouri State, was tied with Missouri with a minute to go in the first half. Now, I don't think Missouri's very good, but Missouri State coming in there slinging it.
Yeah.
They end up losing by like 30, but it goes back to the depth thing. They don't have enough players like the Missouris and the big schools.
The ones on ones, it's competitive. You might not, your ones might not be as good, but they'll hang.
Yeah.
But your 2s, and 3s and 4s at that point aren't going to be able to hang with those teams, and that's Tennessee at this point. And I hate to keep going back and harping on the program. I'll end it with this. 2 things actually. I think Butch Jones's time is done. And I know, and I've been a Tennessee fan for a long time. I know how frantic and people love to get into this coaching carousel hype. People at Tennessee, we've had to do it for a good amount. A lot of turnover in the last 10 years, last 5 or 10 years. So people get really hyped up about this coaching carousel train and who's next. I've said this from 2 years ago, and I don't have anybody to confirm it, but I promise you guys, this has been my opinion for 2 years. When you saw, and this is who I think should be taken over, when you saw a guy like Bob Stoops at Oklahoma who started to get in a little bit of hot water at Oklahoma for not winning 12 games a year and not winning national titles, and losing that one game they shouldn't have lost, and Tennessee does that like nobody else. But this is what I think. I think Tennessee, if you're going to go after a guy, you've been after the guys that don't have names. You've been after the guys that have moderate success at lower programs and you thought could turn the program around. You've done that already.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's time to bring all that, shell out all that booster money you got.
Who y'all getting?
I think you go after Bob Stoops. And this is why. This is why. Because I think that Bob Stoops is a guy, and a lot of these guys, you see Mark Richt doing it, trying to do it at Miami. You see Nick Saban coming from the NFL to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are guys that get, almost lulled to sleep at the program they're at. After 10 or 12 years of doing the same thing over and over and over, you kind of lose that motivation and that chip on your shoulder, like we were talking about, to go out and really, you don't have anything to prove when you're in Bob Stoops and you've won 11 games a year for the past 10 years or 5 years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But when you get, I don't want to say scorned, because you saw in the Oklahoma game when they were playing Ohio State, he's an Oklahoma guy through and through.
Yeah, he was up there in the
right, and he was going crazy. So I don't know if this would ever work out, but I think you throw all the money you can at Bob Stoops and you give him a chance to revitalize that chip on his shoulder. He's always been a guy that hates the SEC as far as thinks that they're overrated. He thinks the Alabamas of the world, him and Nick Saban have had beef for a long time. I think you bring a guy in that not only hates Alabama as much as Tennessee fans do, and it's not even a rivalry. Like, we hate Alabama, but they don't even acknowledge us on the map. They're like, whatever, Tennessee's a dub. Let's go look at Auburn.
Well,
that's
been
the way
tough
it is.
The last 5 years, yeah. Last 8 or 9.
It's
I guess.
It's been a while, man.
It was 8. I think it's been 9 now.
Yeah.
I think last year was 9. So this year will be 10.
It is what it is. I can't even.
It's gonna be in Tuscaloosa. It's gonna be tough. But yeah, you don't. So my question is, because I've talked to my buddy Cam, that went to Tech with us also. He's wanting Gruden. Is that still? You think that's a real option?
I don't think you. Look,
there's
John
no
Gruden
way.
would be great. It would be. If you're fantasy booking, for sure, you go after John Gruden. But how do you get him away from that lucrative deal at ESPN?
Yeah. He ain't leaving.
He's not working.
He
works
1 night a week.
He works 1 night a week. He does his whatever it is, his quarterback camp he does, and he calls games. There's no stress in that job.
No.
He travels, 13 weeks out of the year. Other than that, he sits at home and he chills. Why would you give up that and a better pay grade that you're going to get at Tennessee? At Tennessee could throw all the money in the world. It's not ESPN money.
And he's coached. He's won Super Bowls. And
he's done
What
it.
else does he have to prove?
Right? What else? And he's a big Tennessee guy.
Oh,
he
Tennessee
loves
guy.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
I think his wife went there.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be nice, but I'm thinking more of the realistic, what can really happen. And maybe it's not. Maybe you don't get Bob Stoops away. Maybe he's just done and he rode off into the sunset, and that's what it is. He's an Oklahoma guy. Maybe.
Who knows?
But if you can, I think you go after Bob Stoops, and I think you try to put it to Nick Saban in Alabama. Because that's where you want to be as a program.
Absolutely.
You want to be on that level,
That's what everybody's striving to be right now. He's made it a system.
Yeah. That's all my
It's a
Tennessee
machine.
talk. I had to get it out there.
Thank you.
I was sitting on that for a long time, and I wanted to especially after last week's game, a team that hasn't won a game this year, by the way.
UMass 0-4.
0-4, and you struggle with that team. But whatever. That is what it is.